All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to dive into a really fascinating business model, one that basically says your strategy, well, it's all about your structure. It's built on this powerful idea about why things so often seem to break. And this right here, this is the key. This is the whole reason the TCL model was even created. Think about it. It's saying that in a lot of industries, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how talented your team is. If the system itself is flawed, you're just going to get flawed results over and over again. The problem isn't the people, right? It's the blueprint of the business. So let's look at where this is a huge problem. The cost per lead, or CPL, industry. You see this all the time here. The business models tend to lump together responsibilities that just shouldn't be together. Imagine being in charge of producing as many leads as possible and also being in charge of quality control and pricing. See the conflict? It's a system that's pretty much designed to fail from the get-go. Okay, so what's the big idea here? What's the fix? TCL's whole approach is to just reorganize everything. It's pretty radical. Their core concept is to pull apart two things: operational execution, the actual work being done, and commercial control. The goal is to move away from these shaky, trust-based relationships and instead build a system of real institutional accountability. And this is way more than just some management buzzword. You can think of it like a governance system. It's kind of like the separation of powers in a government. The whole point is to get rid of those conflicts of interest by being crystal clear about who does what and who owns which risks. And it all comes down to a really elegant two-layer system. All right, let's dig into that. This entire model really comes to life with this two-layer operating system. And the key thing to remember is that each layer has a totally distinct job to do, and they absolutely cannot overlap. So on one hand, you've got the franchise layer. This is all about production, the day-to-day execution. Think of it as the how. And on the other hand, you have the central platform. This is the brains of the operation, responsible for the rules, the governance, the commercial control, the what and the why. This separation, this clear division of labor, it's literally the most critical part of the entire model. It's a hard line drawn in the sand to keep these two worlds apart. Okay, let's start with the franchisees. You can think of these guys as the absolute masters of production. Their whole world, their single focus is consistency, quality, and just pure operational discipline. They're the ones hiring and managing the teams, running the call centers day in and day out, and hitting those volume targets. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. They are not responsible for selling the leads or haggling over prices. Their one and only job is to execute. That's it, flawlessly. So while the franchisees are busy executing, the central platform is handling everything else. Specifically, all the stuff that creates risk for the whole network. We're talking about managing the buyers, setting the prices, making sure everyone's following the rules, and overseeing quality. This central control is what lets them keep standards high everywhere, protect the people buying the leads, and, well, absorb the big financial risks that would crush any single operator on their own. So when you put all this together, what do you get? Well, this super strict separation creates something incredibly powerful for the whole system. It's what we call a risk firewall. And look, this isn't just some fancy business school term. It's a really practical way to make the entire system stable and to protect everybody in it. The logic is simple, right? It just assigns each specific risk to the party that's actually best equipped to handle it. This chart breaks it down perfectly. You can see the TCL's central platform takes on all the big, scary risks, like what if a buyer doesn't pay, or what if regulations change? They handle all that, plus the pricing volatility. The franchisee, they only own the risk of their own operations, the one thing they actually have direct control over. This is the firewall in action. It stops a problem in one franchise from spreading like wildfire and burning down the whole network. But here's the thing. This structure isn't just about playing defense and managing risk. It's actually designed for massive growth. So let's take a look at how this model lets you scale up in a way that those old, traditional models just can't. Okay, a huge piece of the puzzle here is centralized selling. Just think about it for a second. If you let every single franchisee go out and sell their own leads, it would be total chaos. You'd have different prices, different promises, zero consistency. It would be the Wild West. By pulling all of that into the central platform, TCL can present one single, unified, professional face to every buyer out there. They know exactly what they're getting every single time. And here's the really beautiful part. The structure itself forces everyone's incentives to line up perfectly. Franchisees get rewarded for delivering consistent quality because that leads to stable demand and, you guessed it, predictable paychecks. TCL, meanwhile, gets exactly what it wants: a high-quality, compliant supply of leads that can scale up. So you see, nobody actually wins by trying to cheat the system. If you inflate your numbers or cut corners on compliance, you're not just hurting the network, you're hurting yourself. And this right here is the ultimate payoff. Think about those traditional models. What happens when they grow? They usually start to break, right? Quality goes down, control slips away, things get messy. The TCL model is the exact opposite. It's actually designed to get stronger and more consistent the bigger it gets. That's because governance and control aren't just an afterthought. They're baked into the very DNA of the system from day one. So let me just leave you with this one big question to think about. What if the biggest thing holding back your industry, or even your own business, from scaling isn't your strategy, but your structure? By focusing on the deep underlying architecture, the TCL model really shows us that sometimes how you're built can be way more important than what you do. Maybe the real secret to scale isn't in a playbook, but in the blueprint.